This is la penúltima pregunta.
Okay.
I don't know how to say penultimate.
Penultimate.
So there is a challenge between finding between, especially in our classes, especially here in the U.S., finding the interest of students between the canonical text that we all analyze, the ones that have to be there, and we've mentioned several authors already, Carlos Fuentes to Rubén Darío, etc. Those are the canonical texts. And those other emerging voices, and maybe Gabriela, you can expand a lot more on that, no? Because you're talking about Latino literature, which are those emerging voices, sometimes silent voices that are not too popular. So how do you balance the three of you, the interest of students in saying this is also acceptable literature, this is also literature that we can read in our classes, or just by
the question is very interesting because a lot of my students do not know anything about Latinos or Latino literature or writers that are Latino descent, because there are many throughout the centuries. We're talking about centuries of literary production of Latinoamericanos here in this country. And the way that I approach it in my classes, I pretty much do a survey, okay? Starting with the chronicles written by Cabeza de Vaca, right? Who's the very first Latino writer, or the very first Español that wrote in Spanish here in the United States, published in the 16th century, right? When he was traveling and got lost. I mean, that's where I start. So I give an overview of, from that very beginning to the new voices, right? And I mean, you can spend weeks and months just studying the body of work of Latinos and from different eras. Okay, it's rich, but we unfortunately we don't teach it as much, and I do teach it all in English, because all of the literary production of Latinos is not in Spanish; is the majority is in English. The majority is in English. So there are emerging voices. There are very good, excellent writers out there. I can mention one out of the, from top of my head, The Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde.
Oh.
Right, by Junot Diaz. He is from the Dominican Republic, and right. He is wonderful writer, contemporary writer, who talks about the Dominican Republic's diaspora in New York City. Okay, I mean, and he won the Pulitzer Prize. There is another one just recent, won the Pulitzer Prize, which is the most famous prize given in the United States to a writer, and that is Hernan Diaz with the Trust. Trust is the novel, which is a period piece that talks about various families right at the beginning of the late 19th century, early 20th century, and how they have amassed all their fortunes. Okay, so it has nothing to do with being Latino anymore, right? It's their universal themes that are developed by all of these writers, and that's what's interesting about it. I mean, they're not just talking about the Hispanic experience or the Dominican experience, but about other items and other themes and topics that are out there, right? Not exclusively by race, color, right? And I'm gonna finish here.
They have anything to?
Vamos a dejar para.
Go ahead, sir.
I mentioned Sergio Ramirez. Sergio Ramirez, and I also mentioned that he won the Cervantes. Uh, he said that the best Latin American literature at this particular moment, it is being written in English.
In English.
Okay, we're talking about Hernan Diaz. We're talking about
Junot.
Goldman,
Goldman.
Junot. We're talking about so many other Daniela Larcon,
Daniela Alarcón. Radio City.
Radio City. So many other writers of Latino descent that are writing great literature. But the initial question was,
Well, how would we let students know that it's okay to read and it's important to read that fiction that's been
You have
produced
to
by
bridge the
those?
gap. I mean, you have to allow, in my case, in Latino class, for Latino literature class, every single text that we read is in English, right? Everything, even Cabeza de Vaca, right? So you allow that part, right? So you you're not looking for translations only.
well, my suggestion is that do not wait for your professor to tell you what to read.
You just
Okay,
pick it
you
up.
have to become a good
Active.
reader.
Sí,
The work of fiction or poetry will talk to you. And if that particular work of fiction or poetry speaks to you, it is valuable at a personal level. Do not wait for the professor to tell you that that is good literature. Sometimes it's a very personal experience. Okay, yeah, there are canonical writers that you can consult, that you can read about. There are so many anthologies that can introduce you to a variety of writers, and then from there, if one of those writers pique your interest, you can go and further your research towards that particular writer. But you have to become a reader yourself. Try to identify those writers that speak to your experience. Okay.
Mario, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, following on what Neftali was saying, be proactive, be daring when discovering new people out there. For example, in my case, I'm going to recommend Luis Carlos Barragan from Colombia. He writes amazing science fiction, and actually, I'm lucky enough. I'm going to have him talk to my students in one of the grad classes I'm teaching right now. And I got acquainted with his work when I was in Spain 4 years ago, no, 6 years ago, actually, in one of our study abroad programs. And I found this Hispanic anthology called El Tercer Mundo Después del Sol. Okay, Third World from the Sun. And it is a collection of Latin American science fiction writers. And in that collection, he published one of his short stories, Éxodo X. And actually, I was able to publish an interview I did to him in an article I wrote on that short story. And he's a new voice. And all in all, read, just read, okay? And piece of advice I can give you is that when I'm working on my study abroad programs, I usually tell my students some people travel to know places, some people travel to know themselves. When you're reading a book, canon, new, a novel, a comic, a graphic novel, etc., don't read the book just to know what's going to happen at the end. Read the book to see what is going to happen to you after you're done reading the book. Give it a try and enjoy literature in general.
And just a really, really quick, just to mention one of the speaking about those emergent voices, I guess, especially here in the U.S. Just a very much deserved shout out to Nick Canelos from Arte Público
yes,
Press,
Arte Público
who has
Press.
done a lot to promote those
Voices.
Latin voices, Latin American voices, Chicano voices in particular. So if you are interested in finding out about this literature, at least in the U.S., Arte Público Press is certainly something that you can
Yes.
just Google and find the whole list of
Yep.
authors and novels. And just lastly, so what would be your final recommendation to the students to approach literature or to appreciate the Hispanic culture or just to come and watch your or listen to your lecture? What would you say? And say goodbye.
Be proud of who you are. learn to be somebody new, because, as they say, the person who commands his or her own language commands him or her own self. What if you're bilingual? What if you're trilingual? And if you are that, you're going to have access also to literature written in different languages, different cultures, different experiences. Okay? Discover yourselves and start discovering different worlds.
Very good, excellent. Gabriela?
I'll say pick up a book, any book, right? And immerse yourselves little by little in the writer's mind. Okay? And whatever is presented to you now as students, try to enjoy it. Try to learn as much as you can, because this is the moment. This is the moment where you are absorbing the world. So let it come to you. Open yourselves up to that experience. And if you do, maybe later on you decide to become a literature professor, right? So open yourselves to the experience and to other cultures and other people and other ideas, because that's how we grow. That's how we become tolerant. We are human. We love what we do. We love literature. We love people, right? So that would be my very humble advice to you. Open yourselves up to the experience.
Very good, thank you. And
Couple things. One, someone told us in in service. I used to be a seventh grade teacher,
Sixth grade teacher.
and in one of those long, boring in services, a professor that came to give us a lecture, she said, "Language is power," and it stuck with me. A few years back, I was teaching a course in history, Latin American history, and in one of the evaluations, this student who never said anything, he wrote an evaluation for me, and she said, "What I loved about this course is not the history lesson, but what San Agustin said." I had shared with them a quote by San Agustin, which mentioned that life is just like a book. In order to live it, you have to open it and read it. Okay? Those pages need to move. You need to move.
thank you very much. Well, I'd like to thank those of you watching, and certainly those that are present here in the studio, for joining us. Whatever question that you may have, you can write it down in the comment section of this video, because it's going to be up on YouTube. And I appreciate your time with us. Thank you, Mario, Gabriela, Neftali, for joining Southeastern.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for coming.
Muchas gracias.
Pura vida. Thank you.
Gracias. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, chicos.
Hasta luego.